Is nobody else on here?
I'm getting ready to leave.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to our series, New Knowledge. Several of you, I see old faces, but I see a couple of new faces. So I'm excited today to learn about tourism and business management from our resident guru here in the town of Abingdon, Kevin Costello. So Kevin, I'll turn it over to you and let you tell these folks about a little bit about yourself and what you do for the town.
That's my bio right there.
Okay.
Guru. Hi, I'm Kevin Costello. I'm the Director of Economic Development and Tourism for the Town of Abingdon. Quick 2-second bio maybe. I'm not from around here. I'm from Central New York originally. I get that all the time. You're not from around here. But that's okay, because I love tourism, and tourism translates anywhere you go. I have a master's degree in tourism from the University of Tennessee, so I'm sort of from around here because go Vols, right? But today we're here to talk about more about tourism and the tourism industry than me, so whatever, that's my bio. We're done with that. But what I'd like to do is go around the room and ask you who you are and what business or organization you represent, so I could maybe spin my slides a little bit more precise to what you're involved with if I need to. And I like to preface everything by saying I'm an expert at nothing, so what I'm going to tell you today is just kind of anecdotal in my personal opinion, but it comes from experience, so hopefully some of it makes sense. So let's start with you. Tell me your name and who you're here with.
My name is Sam Jones, and it's a publication that we're getting ready to start called Get Outside, Southwest Virginia.
Okay, great. Fantastic.
Charlene Pruitt, and we have cottages on the creek.
Sharon Stevens, I work at Countryside Realty, and we also work with horse shows at the fairgrounds.
Okay, great.
Kathleen Calvert, I'm with the Virginia Ballroom and Admin Senior Services.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Dave McLeish, and I'm with Dreamland Alpacas in Meadow View, Virginia.
Andrea Smith, and I'm with the Community Economic Development Department of People Incorporated.
Okay, great.
I'm Monica Hall. I'm Group Sales Manager with the Department of Tourism.
And I'm Amy Looney. I'm the coordinator for the Historic Properties.
Ladies in the back.
Amanda Livingston, Marketing Manager for the Town of Abingdon and CVB.
I'm Joy Rumley with the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, and I work with the Virginia Main Street programs, which often have a component of tourism business support.
And I'm Nita Farmer with the Washington County Chamber of Commerce.
Well, good. I think we have a good kind of cross-section of nonprofit, government, private business, entrepreneurs. So hopefully I'll touch on something that's of interest to you during the course of the presentation today. If you want to stop me in the middle of it and ask your question, raise your hand, and we'll try to answer your questions as best possible. You know, the title of this presentation is a little misleading: Tourism Business Management and Support. I don't know where we came up with the title, but we're going to talk less about management of a business, but more about tourism industry and some ideas on how to help your business through certain parts of the tourism process, and then talk about the support part of it, what we can do for you, and then just field some questions. So let's step right into it. First of all, what in the world is tourism? You know, there are many definitions for tourism, and so everybody's perspective is a little bit different on it. So this is an interactive class, so anybody with an answer, what in the world is tourism? Who has an idea? Come on, somebody can raise their hand. What is tourism?
Places you go to see other things than what you have at home.
Okay. David, what about for you?
Tourism for us is people that are traveling through looking for things to do with their families, and they stop at the farm to meet all the animals.
Okay. Amy, how about you? Sorry, I caught you with your mouth full.
Tourism is out-of-town guests coming in to visit the historic properties, to visit Fairview and formerly the Fields Camp.
Great. So you know, for everybody has a different definition of tourism. I like this one. It's Matheson and Walls. This came out of a textbook that I had when I was getting my master's degree in tourism, and it touches on components that I'm going to touch on in the presentation. The temporary movement of people to destinations outside their normal place of work and residence, the activities undertaken during their stay in those destinations, and the facilities created to cater to their needs. So there's some points in there that we're going to go into more detail but in my mind, this is a really good academic definition of tourism. So it focuses on 4 components: tourism in the circle, but transportation, getting people here, customers, the visitors that are going to come, the destination itself, the place that they're coming to, and the infrastructure that's available within the destination. And so we're going to go into more detail onto these 4 topic areas. So transportation, it's how people get here, and there's many different modes of transportation. People can fly, they can drive, you can take a cruise, you can take a train, you can take a bus, you can take a car. But to get to in particular, into Southwest Virginia, the modes of transportation gets a little bit slimmer. So we don't have passenger rail, we certainly don't have cruise ships. Closest place to fly into is Tri-Cities Airport. So for the most part, people are using bus or car to get to us, and I'm going to go back in transportation a little bit further down the road and explain why that's important as you start to think about your tourism business. But key component, number 1, people have to get to us to be a part of the tourism economy. Next part, customers, most important thing, and there's many different visitors or tourists, or in this case, a business case, customers. We have business travelers, we have leisure travelers, and a leisure traveler is somebody that stays at least 1 night, so they're coming from outside and staying overnight. Day trippers, that's exactly what it is, somebody that comes in during the day and takes advantage of a community, whether that's going out to lunch and then getting the heck out of town, or going to a barter show and going to lunch and leaving town. There's no overnight involved with that. Group travel, and by our definition from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, that's any group of individuals coming together with 10 or more in a party. Definitions for group can change from place to place, but for the most part, groups have gotten smaller. Traditionally, it was 35 as a group, and they come in a motor coach. Nowadays, for business purposes, 10 is considered, in our eyes, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, a group. Groups can take many different forms. Motor coach is most well known, people coming in a motor coach. Wedding groups, SMERF, that acronym up here, S-M-E-R-F, stands for social, military, education, religious, and fraternal. And so those are groups that are coming that are very niche specific for those different types of things. So social groups would be Red Hat Society, for example, coming as a group. Military reunions are very popular nowadays. Education courses where people are coming from, say, to the higher ed center for the adult learning classes. If they're coming in groups of 10 or more, that's considered a group. And religious and fraternal speak for themselves. Sports, another form of tourists that come to an area. Not necessarily so much in Abingdon. We're not really big in the sports market. However, the CVB is right now working with the state golf championship. So Abingdon will be hosting the Section 3 and 4 golf tournament next week, right? Next week? Yes. So sports is a viable market in terms of tourism. Outdoor recreation is more of a niche, but it's growing ever increasingly. So I'm moving it away from the niche category into a category of its own in terms of customer base for tourism. And then niche markets, which are just smaller, very focused groups, people interested in bird watching, for example. History buffs, I would throw them into the niche market. People that are focused primarily on antiquing as a group. So there are many, many, many different smaller niche markets. So we have to think about that again as a tourism business. Who is your target customer? And we'll go into more detail on some thoughts on that later. For a third part of the 4 components, destinations. This list is the top 10 destinations in the U.S. by TripAdvisor. No surprises there. They're the major metropolitan areas in terms of destinations. But for us, the destination is Abingdon, and I'll talk a little bit later about what makes a destination. Any surprises there? Top 10?
Charleston.
Charleston's way up there now. That is Charleston, South Carolina, by the way, not West Virginia. No offense to my friends in Charleston, West Virginia. I was surprised by Palm Springs. I didn't realize that it was still on people's radar screen, but I guess it's a probably a popular destination for people leaving Los Angeles, which is not on the list. So all the people that leave Los Angeles to go on vacation probably end up in Palm Springs. And finally, the fourth thing, and probably the most important thing, is infrastructure. You know, people have ways of getting here. We know who they are in terms of our customer base. But what makes up our destination is all of the infrastructure that goes into that. And this is just a short list of some of the things in my mind that make up a destination. Of course, we have to have roads for people who are coming in, sidewalk streets, attractions. In our case, Abingdon, Barter Theatre. I'd lump Heartwood into an attraction. The Virginia Creeper Trail is an attraction. William King Museum, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lodging, key component for a tourism destination to have in terms of infrastructure. People have to have a place to stay. Retail, when people are coming, it's one of the things they don't do when they're planning a trip is say, okay, we want to go there because we're going to go shopping. But one of the key things they do when they're in a destination is spend money at retail establishments. So clothing, gift shops, etc. So you have to have that as a part of your tourism destination infrastructure because that's where they're spending their money. Dining, of course, everybody's got to eat, so they're going out to eat. Recreation, another key component in terms of infrastructure. And then I lumped in, excuse me, festivals and events. I think quality local events are also quality tourism events. And if you have a long-term established event like our Virginia Highlands Festival, it should be lumped in with the infrastructure that's within the destination. So we've gone over the four components of what makes up tourism. Any questions so far? All right, we'll keep going. I talk fast. I'm from New York, as I said earlier, so if I'm talking too fast, just do something like that, and I'll slow down a little bit. I have a tendency to talk a little too fast. So, why is tourism important? Why we're here today talking about it? Why do I have a job in tourism? Why am I passionate about it? Why is it important? Because it's a vital source of income for communities in Virginia. Without a doubt, tourism is probably the second highest industry in the state of Virginia. It produces thousands and thousands, millions and millions of dollars in tourism revenue. For the town of Abingdon, we bring in about $2 million in tourism-generated tax each year through our lodging and meals tax alone. So it's vital to the economy. I've heard our town council say many, many times that we're able to keep our taxes, our real estate property taxes low because of the tourism dollars that come into our community. The last time the real estate tax moved in Abingdon, it moved down, and they say that's because we're collecting enough revenues in tourism-generated businesses to keep real estate taxes either at or below what they have been in the past. So tourism is a vital source of income for our community. How does it generate income? Well, it generates it through the consumption of goods and services. People, as we said earlier, our customers come into town, they take advantage of the infrastructure that's in place. They're spending money, spending the night, they're spending the money at our lodging partners, at our restaurants and shops, and with our attractions. So it's generating money in our community. Taxes are levied on that. So in Abingdon and Virginia in particular, we have a lodging tax of 7 cents on the dollar. That's the local tax. There's a 5 cent on top of that for lodging, so that's generating tax dollars for both the state and for the locality. We have a 7 cent meals tax in Abingdon, and so that again goes back into the local coffers. And then there's retail sales tax, which the town itself does not collect, but it's 5 cents on the dollar that goes back to the state and then gets reintroduced back to the county based on the number of school-age children that we have in the county's population. So the money does trickle back down into our community. And it's also a major employer in the state of Virginia. There's, I should know the data off the top of my head, but there's about 1,200 to 1,300 tourism-related jobs, people employed in the tourism industry just here in Abingdon alone. So it's a major employer. And one of the more important factors that kind of gets left out in the conversation of why tourism is important, I think it adds to the quality of life. We hear that all the time. Quality of life is so important. What does that really mean? I think it means that we continually build up our infrastructure, primarily focused for tourism, but it helps the residents as well. We have great festival and events here in Abingdon that are open to, that are designed for bringing tourists in, but are available for our populace. That adds to that. The Virginia Creeper Trail, we see probably 200,000 people on the trail. We don't know because there's no turnstile, but I would say 50% of those people are local people that are using it as a greenway trail. it's a tourism attraction, but it's a great community asset. So great community assets, am I in your way? Can you see? Okay. Great community assets are also great tourism assets. So at the end of the day, tourism is important because not only are we going after the economics of it, but we're also continually building up and things that are important for our community. Yes?
Quick question. When you say there's 1,200 to 1,300 employees in the tourism industry, what businesses do you consider that to encompass? Hotels or?
So that information comes from the Virginia Tourism Corporation, who gets that information from, I believe, Weldon, Cooper,
Okay.
and so there are the state's codes on what a tourism business is, and they lump it all in there. So that's where I'm getting that information from. But I could get them to give me the exact SIC codes of what the industries are. It might even be in the report that they fill out what codes they're using, but I can get that information.
I was just curious.
But my guess is that they use transportation, they use lodging, restaurants, would probably even lump in like frontline employees at convenience stores, which is a component of that, I think, in that transportation code. I could boil that down for you. But
I was just curious.
no, it's a good question. So this is a slide that you probably can't see very well, but it goes back to the four parts of tourism, and I'll try to explain it because you can't see it very well. But here we are. This is the power of travel and how a tourism dollar trickles down into a community. And so it starts with the visitor. So this is our customer that we talked about at the very beginning. They figure out how they're going to get to a destination. And let me take a step back and explain the tourism process, the travel process. So a visitor, say Kevin, wants to go on vacation with his family. The first thing I do is start to research a destination. And our research tells us that they start with their laptop computer either at work or at home and start planning that trip. And so then they book a trip, and that has to do with how the mode of transportation that they go through, whether that's renting a car, flying on a bus, flying on a plane, taking a bus or a train. So now they've determined the mode of transportation, figured out the destination that they're going to come to and where they're going to stay. So the next, oops, and then I just lost my slide. Wrong button. Figure out where they're going to stay in terms of, they figure out the destination and then book a room in the destination. And they travel to the destination, they leave their laptop behind, they leave their computer behind, and they travel with their iPad, their tablet, and their cell phone. And so now they're in destination, so the dollar has trickled down from the transportation to the lodging. Now you're in market, and you've determined where you're going to stay and what you're going to do. They get to the hotel and they pull out the tablet and they're picking all these other things, where they're going for their entertainment that night, what restaurants they're going to go to. Then they hit the streets and they're using their phone and they're making that, they're using their map function on their phone to connect with restaurants and shops and figure out where that is. So that's kind of that's just an aside, how the tourism logic process goes at the same time that the trickle down of the dollar does. So now they're in market, they're spending money in this community, which the money moves to all of the businesses and the people that work in the business, and it circulates within the economy. It's clean money because it's not money that was already in the community. It's money that's coming in and it's staying in the community and circulating, so it's new money as opposed to money that's been circulating in the community. Go ahead.
Is it still true that the majority of the decisions of where the family's going to travel is made by the wife?
Yes, the research that the Virginia Tourism Corporation tells us says that the mother or the spousal unit, whoever's in charge, is always the woman, right? The wife or the girlfriend is making most of the decisions on where the destination is and what happens within the destination.
So that would be a good target for our advertising too.
That's correct. And I'm going to talk a little bit about advertising in a little bit. And so the power of travel is that it's clean money that comes into a community. These visitors come, they spend money in our community, and then they do a great thing, they leave. And they leave their money behind, and we don't have to put their kids through school. We don't have to we don't have to remove snow for them. We don't have to spend any money in terms of our tax base. other than keeping the roads up to par, which in essence is also for the local economy. So they come in, they leave money, they spend it, a tourism dollar, I've read anywhere between 4 times and 6 times gets divvied up and spent. So $1 that's spent by a visitor ends up in the pocket of this guy that works for the bakery here. He spends it locally at the grocery store, and then that person spends that dollar, and it trickles on down the line. There's different numbers for that. I take it all with a grain of salt, but the money does, it's new money, so it does circulate and affect the economy. Okay, so we're here today. That was all to set the stage for what tourism is, what in the world is tourism. Do we have a better idea of what tourism is, or is it cloudy as mud? Yeah, okay, good. So what is a tourism business? We're here to talk a little bit more about what a tourism business is, because there are a few people that are in the tourism industry and business owners and want to know a little bit more about how you can improve your business. So for the sake of it, I've broken down tourism businesses into sectors. For the most part, again, it's transportation. It's, at one point, travel agents. When was the last time anybody here interacted with a travel agent?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, all right, very good. For work or for?
No, for pleasure actually, but it's because we had we're having like 20 of us go on a cruise.
A cruise.
So it's easier to book your dinner
Yes.
and stuff like that if you go through a travel agent.
Right, so that's probably one of the only occurrences nowadays where people are interacting with a travel agency directly, is to book cruise travel or package travel, usually out of country. But now, for the most part, people are using OTCs, which are online travel companies, Expedia, even TripAdvisor, all of these places where you can go and read all of the reviews of places and then book travel. And so the way that people are booking travel has changed completely, but it still is considered a business sector. Accommodations, tour companies. I would say for us, if we're going to talk about tour companies, the outfitters in Abingdon and Damascus that take people up and shuttle them up, I would lump them into tour companies. But those are also motor coach companies, receptive operators, people who are taking bigger groups, as we discussed earlier, on vacations. Retail establishments, antique shops, olive oil tasting gallery, etc. Attractions, and that's a huge category. It could be as big as King's Dominion here in Virginia, and as small as what was the Star Museum at one point in Abingdon. Outdoor and adventure, another growing business sector. I still think there's some great growth opportunity in the outdoor adventure market. It's very recession-proof. I think the recession actually boosted this industry. I saw a huge growth in fact, water sports. That was moving like this and is still continuing to go like that. And then hospitality, food and bev outlets. So there are several different business sectors. For the most part, this is what tourism boils down to. So these are the things that every tourism business should know before they open their doors. And this is coming from me, so I'm not getting it from some book that I read somewhere. These are the things that I think as a tourism business, and in particular any business really, needs to know before they open their doors. And I'm going to go into more detail, but we're going to talk about your customer, your target audience, your target markets, and that's where the people are coming from. Location, 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 you hear that all the time, but it's extremely apropos for tourism. I think seasonality is something that's very important, in particular for tourism business. Excuse me, and I'll go into more detail on that. Customer service is extremely important, and I'm going to go into more detail on that. And then marketing, and I kind of moved marketing right up underneath target audiences and target markets because it talks a lot, what I'm going to talk about is a lot about that. But I think it's more important that I put it at the end because we could go into a little more detail on that because I think everybody's really interested in marketing and trying to figure out that monster. So that will be one of the last things that we discuss. So, who is your customer? How many of you know exactly who your customer is? And if you do, how do you know that?
You gave me a study on it.
All right. So we as the CDB know who our target audience is because we did research. We hired a firm to come in and do 2 studies. One was a visitor intercept study, so people that were here on the ground in Abingdon, we intercepted them with a survey and asked them many, many, many questions. We followed up with it with a survey that went out to all of the leads that were, inquiries that were generated through our advertising campaigns, be that people that called us on the phone and asked us for information. We were able to get their email addresses when we corresponded with them, or they went to our website and requested information. So those are called inquiries. A lead is like you advertise and somebody fills out a reader response card and wants information on a general area. That's just a lead. Some of those people turn into people that visit, but for the most part they don't. So we were looking at inquiries, and we bounced off the information from our visitor intercept with our inquiries, and we're able to get very precise information and develop a customer profile. And so the important things you need to know are demographics, of course, male, female, age, all of this other stuff, life stages, are they millennial, are they baby boomers, are they Generation X, because your marketing plan will be different for each one of those. And you need to know the life stages in order to tell the generational differences. And I'll talk a little bit about that later in marketing. Their income level, how educated they are, and nowadays what their lifestyle preferences are. That's a little bit more difficult. Those are psychographics as opposed to demographics. You have to do a little bit more research to get that, but it's important information. So, key, most important thing, number 1, opening your business, owning a business, starting a business, in the middle of a business, know who your customer is, know as much information about them as possible. The easiest way to get that information is to ask them. I know that sounds simple, but it's true. You just have them, ask them questions, and keep track.
So if you're a small business, and obviously you're not going to hire a consultant to do a strategic plan for you, how scientific do you need to be about it? Is anecdotal enough? You're just asking the customers as they come through the door, kind of jotting down notes?
I think that's a great first start.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that. Hi, where are you from?
Yeah.
How did you find out about us? Why did you choose us? And then as they say they're a retail establishment, you'll know what they're interested in based on their transaction. Also, if they're using a credit card, you should be able to get information about where they're from off of the information your credit card company can send you. So read that information. Most of the time it's transactional and that's the end of it, but simple questions go a long way. Yes?
Now I have a question. Since you've already had studies done, how do we access your data?
You call me on the phone or come by my office and I can go over it with you and fill you in. Yeah.
Because that sounds like a quicker way to get a jump start.
My customer might not necessarily be your customer, but you'd have an idea of who the visitor is to Abingdon, and I'd be glad to share that information.
Well, see, we have a lot of retirees that come to Abingdon who came through here either by getting off interstate, relatives, or events. And they like the area so well, they retire here.
I didn't have it on that slide, and I think I might talk about it later, but the key drivers to Abingdon, what people who we've researched said, why they come to Abingdon, they're coming for the Barter Theatre, the Virginia Creeper Trail, and our historic downtown districts. But on top of all of that, research at the state level and at the national level says that the #1 driver or reason that people go on a trip is to visit friends and family. And so you've probably seen that in the real estate industry, is that people are, that's what you work in the real estate industry? So
Right, but the COA classes, when I've gone to those, the majority of the people going to those classes are not originally from this area. They have relocated to here.
Right. So, my market is the tourism industry, so I'm bringing people in who are coming to visit because we've marketed to them as a destination. So your business is a little bit different than ours.
Right, but it usually spins off from the fact that they came here either because they needed a break or they came for an event and they liked it.
Sure. And so to just kind of bounce off on that, We've seen that too this year, actually, in the beginning of the spring, March, early April. We had a lot of people coming down from Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, that were looking to relocate, and they said that this was their first trip to Abingdon, but they've been looking at Abingdon for about 8 years, and the weather patterns have changed so much in that part of the country that they're looking to relocate. They've had it with the weather, and then now they're ready to pull the trigger. So for your business, that's good news.
That's right.
And we love to greet people at the visitor center first time, whether they're here as a tourist, but also as a potential person to relocate because they're staying with us and spending money in our community.
Kevin, there was also an article listed that the Bristol area was one of the top areas to relocate for retirement because of the education, health, and weather area. So, and we're so close to Bristol, we're a little bit nicer than Bristol.
You said it, I didn't.
Well, and Nashville has gotten so built up now with the hatchbacks.
And it's more expensive.
Yeah, they're coming on up.
Right. Well, let me muddle through this, and if there are questions towards the end, because I think there's a certain amount of time that the thing runs, I'd be glad to stay later and answer any questions or talk about that. It's really interesting. So, moving from target audience to target markets, my rule of thumb is to fish where the fish are. So you know who your visitor is, and of course when you're asking them all about themselves in the survey, you want to ask them, so where are you from? Bare minimum, you want to get their zip code so you can start developing a database based on zip codes, and then you can draw one of these kind of nifty little, you can't see very well, but this is Abingdon, and these are concentric circles, and each one represents an hour and how far out of the area are. So you can see within a 5 to 6 hour, you can't really see because it's a horrible picture, we are on the whole East Coast here, so Florida is down in here. So our drive market, our feeder market, our sweet spot is a 3 to 5 hour drive market from Abingdon. So we're getting in that 3 to 5 hour drive market, metropolitan areas of Charlotte, Winston-Salem, Asheville, Chattanooga, Nashville. Nashville going that way, coming back, it's not. Most of all of Virginia, DC's a push for us. So that's this is our sweet spot, and we fish for the fish in that area as much as our advertising dollars will allow us to do. So as I said, our drive market, what you have to know what your target audience, your target market is, I should say market. What my target audience is in first a drive market, and so a drive market is defined as a 5 hour radius. A fly market, so people who are 5 to 7 hours, they'll flip the coin on whether or not they're going to drive that distance or they're going to take a flight depending on how convenient the airport is. So for us, a 5 to 7 is still probably a drive market because Tri-Cities is no direct flights, so the price point still probably gets people in a car for us. Then a fly and drive market, which means they fly in and then they hub and spoke into a destination. They drive around to different places within that marketplace. In Florida, there's the fly and cruise market. So people fly into, say, Orlando. They rent a car, they go out to Cocoa or Cape Canaveral, and then they cruise out from there. That's pretty common in Florida. Even I think in Virginia, over in Hampton Roads, there's a little bit of that going on. Amtrak service, we have none of that at this point. Hopefully in the not so distant future that might change. Very few people, but still there's buses going on now with some of the discounted buses. You've seen it going up and down the highway into DC, the megabus. I think closest to us is Knoxville where you can pick that up. It's super inexpensive, it's got Wi-Fi on it, so the amenities are changing. So people are now more than ever taking buses to certain places that are accommodating some of their other needs like Wi-Fi and price point. And then never underestimate the walk-up market. We do have the Appalachian Trail that runs right outside of us in Damascus, and I don't know the statistics, but I would think Damascus has a pretty decent walk-up market where people are walking from outside the destination into the destination. So, I mean, it sounds kind of strange, but it's true. Questions about target markets and target audience? Okay, I'll keep going. So you hear this all the time. When you start your business, it's about Location, location, location. I'm going to put a little different spin on it. I'm not talking about, man, you need to be on the interstate, because we all get that, you know, you need to be somewhere where there's a lot of traffic going by. But for me, it's about the in-destination when I'm talking about it. So does your business fit the destination that you're deciding to open up a business in that? And for an example, all right, would a tattoo parlor be an appropriate business for downtown Abingdon? So you have to think that through. You have to look at the zoning ordinances in a community. You should look at their comprehensive plan. I know it's probably not the most exciting thing to read, but if you're considering moving into a community, you can start with these documents that already exist. For example, the comprehensive plan of a community, to see if your business fits in what they see their own community looking like currently and in the future. I'm going to skip that digital and physical and talk about that later. And talk about, does your destination support the business? So it's a two-way thing. You want to look at that comprehensive plan to see if you fit in with the future growth of a community and fit into the market mix when I'm talking about does your business fit the destination. But you also want to look and see how the community does things like signage. Is it difficult to get signage? If so, do you really want to be in that destination? Does the community support small business? Is there great public safety? Do they keep the community clean? Do they do little things like we do in Abingdon on seasonal changes we are putting up now, the pumpkins and all that, just the little extra added things that a destination can do to help support businesses within the destination. I think walkability, if you're a walk-in business where you want to see a lot of people coming in off of the sidewalks, it needs to be a walkable community. So these are important things to look at before you decide to open up a business. And then now the environment is changing quite a bit, especially in tourism, where you don't have to have a physical location. We're moving more and more towards the digital. And so we talked a little bit about travel agencies going away and OTCs taking over. So there are many different things that you can do as a business owner where you never even have to have a storefront. And that can also be something that you can take into consideration. So when I talk about location, it doesn't necessarily have to be anywhere other than in the basement of your own home.
But how does that benefit a tourist?
Well, these are probably support businesses.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's not like a retail establishment, but it's a support business. Yeah. I brought this up earlier. I think it's an important thing to think about in terms of businesses, and in particular tourism businesses. It's this thing called seasonality. And seasonality is the ebb and flow of the visitor cycle. And so it's not like 12 months out of the year, there's 60% occupancy at a hotel, unless you're Las Vegas. And so we're not Las Vegas, and we have to, as business owners, think about that and understand what it is. So I'm going to kind of get out of this for a second and show you a document that will help explain what I mean by seasonality. Hopefully I can zoom in on this somehow. Well, I'll show you. I'm not going to be able to zoom in, and I can't see it very well. But this chart here shows us occupancy rates over a 12-month period in the town of Abingdon. It's called a STAR report. And so our hoteliers provide Smith Travel Research with information on their occupancy, their average daily rates, and the revenue per room. And so this blue number that goes up and down is the occupancy rate. And you can see over a period of time, it's really difficult to see. I wish I could zoom this up. I'm not seeing how I can do it on here. Export. Anyways, so these are the months below, January, February, March, April, May. For us, here is where we start to see business. This is the summertime period. Through this peak here is October. Because of the leaf season, that's our busiest month. So for us, seasonality, January, February is dead. March picks up a little bit. It's an anomaly though, because the race in Bristol, which now moved to April, kind of changes the increase in occupancy and the increase in the average daily rate because there's a big bump. They raise the rates and the occupancy goes up a little bit. So it's a little bit of an anomaly to show that March goes up. But our prime sweet spot is June, July, August. September we go down a little bit. October goes back up. November slows down. And then December, January, February, we're down in the 30% range in terms of occupancy. So that tells us, through that document there, what our seasonality is. We know what our seasonality is. So that tells us as a tourism department that we need to spend more advertising dollars when we're not in peak season because we've already got the people in town. And as a business, it tells you that you need to do a couple of different things. One, get the most out of your high season. So have the cash registers ring as hard as they can in your peak seasons. Unless you can do something like other options for slow season. Coming up with different business models for when you're slow, where you can generate new revenues that are not necessarily based on that tourism drive with the visitor coming in. But for the most part, people just do the third thing, be prepared for the slow season. And so I used to work in Cape Cod, and I've worked in Long Island in the summertime, and we called it going out on the government cheese. So you worked your butt off in season, and then when the season died, you went out on unemployment for 3 months, and you enjoyed the government cheese. I'm not saying that's an option, but I mean, that's what people have to do. You have to project, you have to plan, you have to figure that out. Understand your season and the seasonality, and do things to either expand your season or be prepared for it as a business owner. So one of the things that we've done as a town, as a CVB, we came up with January jams. January is a dead month for us. The Barter Theatre is closed. The town owns the theater, so we put music on stage in the theater, and we've seen a small incremental boost in our overnight visitation in our restaurant sales tax because we did that, and we're starting to spend more advertising dollars on the seasons where it's slower. So those are just some examples. A very important thing that's sort of never really communicated: seasonality for business owners. Super important as well, customer service. Tourism is about an experience, so don't ruin that experience for people. People are coming to you and to our destination because they have something already preconceived in their mind in terms of what they're going to experience, so let them experience that and don't ruin it. And don't forget that all businesses, no matter what business you're in, are in the customer service business. Everyone that has somebody that they interact with, that comes into their business, talks to them on the phone, we're all in the customer service business. So don't fool yourself. If you don't think you are in the customer service business. And a happy customer tells 3 friends. Nowadays, an unhappy customer tells TripAdvisor. So do it right the first time, or you're going to end up regretting it because it's going to be all over social media. How are we as a tourism office helping with customer service? We just recently launched a website called abingdonambassador.com. It's a customer service training and product knowledge website that we're going to be rolling out in the spring to get more people in tune with what we're doing in terms of tourism promotion for Abingdon, have them understand a lot about the tourism product in Abingdon, and learn a little bit about customer service. So if you're not on our email list, I'll give you my card, I'll get you on our email list, and we'll get you onto the Abingdon Ambassador and help you learn a little bit more about Abingdon and help us to make happy customers who will tell TripAdvisor how great Abingdon is.
How does our part fit into that?
I'm sorry?
You said for us to get involved in that, what would the shop owner's responsibility be?
It's an online training program, and so once you graduate, you become a tourism ambassador. It teaches you how to read a map to a tourist while they're there. It tells you helps you to get them to the visitor center. It teaches you more about when Barter is open. It's very comprehensive. So the more you know about the destination, the better you are to sell the destination to more people. Like a happy customer is easier to keep than to keep as a customer than it is to go after a new customer. So our goal with the ambassador program is to have more people talk on the same page in Abingdon talking about our tourism destination, and therefore keeping more consistent people that come back again and again, repeat visitors. And so it's helpful for you to know more about the destination, and it's helpful for us as the marketer of the destination because you'll be our tourism ambassador. Does that answer your question? Okay. So I'm here to dispel a myth. If you build it, they will come. That's a load of you-know-what. Tourism does not occur by chance. If you build it, they might not come. You have to ask them to come. You have to tell them to come. You just don't build a building and then not market it. So you have to tell them to come. And so this part of the thing is about marketing. And marketing has many different components. One is the sales part. It depends on what your business is. It can be less about marketing and more about sales. Going out there and sales in essence is marketing because you're marketing the product that you're selling. And so depending on what your business is, the tell them to come part is more about telling them about your product line to sell them that product line. But marketing, in my mind, breaks down into these 4 different things: advertising, promotion, social media, and word of mouth. And word of mouth is a little bit blurred with social media nowadays. But in essence, it's all about telling your story. Whether that's through advertising, and advertising can take on many different forms, and this class is not about advertising, so I won't go into too many details on that. But there's print, there's digital, there's radio, there's television, many different mediums to use in advertising. Promotions is really interesting nowadays. Pop-up parties. If you ever watched WKRP in Cincinnati, my favorite promotion ever was when on Thanksgiving they flew over and dropped all the turkeys out of the helicopter. No, nobody saw that. Right. That's a great promotion, but don't do it. That's an example of a promotion. Social media, I think we're all hip to that. There's been many classes and probably a few classes coming up about that to learn more about it. And word of mouth, which is just, as I talked about earlier, developing tourism ambassadors to provide great customer service, and in turn, getting people to talk about how great the destination is, how great your business is, and having people come back. Like I said earlier, people who are happy will tell TripAdvisor, so it's all about word of mouth and blurred with social media now. But you have to tell your story. Most important thing about marketing, if you wanted to take anything away today about marketing, it's about telling your story, and nobody can tell your story better than you as a business owner. You know what you're doing, you're a professional. Tell your story, don't be afraid to tell your story, because people are interested in hearing it. And so a little bit about resources for you in terms of marketing, and I'm going to break it down into state, regional, and local. Of course, starting at the state, the Virginia Tourism Corporation is the state agency for tourism marketing. Their website is virginia.org. That's the promotion end of it. That's the website that they use as a tool to market Virginia as a destination. On that website, there's a place where you can log in, create an account, and put your business on there. If it's a tourism business, that you can put your events on there, and it's all free. If you have questions about how to do that, I can help you with that, or my staff can help you with that. Super easy, super free. So other things that you can do with Virginia Tourism Corporation is on their industry website, which is vatc.org. That's not the consumer website, that's the industry website. You can learn about grants, you can learn about advertising opportunities, all sorts of information available there. They have visitor profiles, they have great research on there. So vatc.org is where you can find out more about marketing resources and information at the state level. Regionally, we have some associations that are membership organizations that are there to promote broader regional tourism entities. And for example, the Blue Ridge Travel Association, that association represents into North Carolina, Galax, Abingdon, our area, The Heart of Appalachia focuses on the coal region. They're an association, also get a little bit of funding from the state, and that's a membership organization if you're in that area. Our area, Southwest Virginia, there's some activity going on with Heartwood and Becky Nave, maybe met her at other functions here. So they're developing a regional strategy for marketing Southwest Virginia as a region. And then NETA is the Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association, and their boundaries bleed into our area a little bit, and so that's an opportunity as well. So those are regional resources for marketing your business in tourism. Most of those are membership organizations, which does mean you have to pay to play. And then at the local level, we're Abingdon Tourism. We work for the town. We are not a membership organization, so our resources are pretty much free for tourism-related businesses. We have a website, visit abingdonvirginia.com, where we have every tourism business listed, even borderline tourist businesses. So if you go to that website, you don't see yours, you think you can make a case for us putting it up there, call me and we'll put your business up there. We have 2 visitor centers. We have one on Cumming Street and one that just opened up on the over by the Creeper Trail, and we're open at the visitor center every day, except for major holidays from 9 to 5. We see thousands of visitors come in each day. We have brochures from Abingdon and the region, some Tennessee stuff and some state stuff, so we're there as a resource for that. We do give out relocation packets to people that call and are interested in relocating to the region. We work with the Chamber of Commerce to do that as well. They have, yes?
And also, we do have our website too, so we promote tourism. So.
Yes, I wasn't going to let that.
Okay.
I should have put you on the list. Shame on the Washington County Chamber of Commerce as well, and they have a visitor center right across the street from here, and you're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
That's correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
So there are a lot of local resources. I apologize, I should have had you on the list. I made this 2 minutes ago, so.
Well, you do good. Just ask.
So those are resources that are available. And like I said earlier, tourism just doesn't happen by itself. Here's I like to call it the vicious circle instead of the virtuous circle. People, businesses or offices of tourism, CVB, state, regional, we spend money to market to these people right here, the visitors. They come, they spend money in our community, and they create new jobs. So that's the tourism industry, and so if you're a part of it, I want to thank you for being a tourism business because you help make my job easier. And then just to close out, a few trends that I see happening that maybe if you're thinking about starting a business, this might be something that you could do. Outdoor recreation still, I said it a couple of times today, a growing segment in tourism. Craft, I think everybody's going hyper-local. Craft brews, craft food, farmers market. People are really interested in meeting locals, experiencing locals, going to the farmers market. Dave, do you know that? They want local experiences, and so any way that your business can create that local experience, I think is a way to go. I've seen this recently, and I'm sure the folks down at Rhythm and Roots Reunion would agree with me. Music festival travel. There are groups of people that are traveling solely for music nowadays. That's their trip. They're going to Bonnaroo, they're going to Rhythm and Roots, they're going to Floyd Fest, and those are the vacations that they're taking. So how do you become a business that taps into that, takes advantage of that? If you have a music event in your area, how do you make money off of those people that are coming in for the music but looking for other things to do? And then I think culinary experiences, people really want that, again, craft, hyper-local experience in restaurants. More and more they're asking in the restaurants, so where did this food get sourced from? So these are just some trends, and I believe that was my last slide. So we have a few minutes left for questions. So, any questions? Yes?
If I want a copy of one of your slides, can you email it to me? Is that possible?
I have my business card here for everybody, and I'll be glad to send everybody the presentation, the whole thing. Yep.
The Mountain of Music Festival that Abingdon had this year, do you have any information on how many people it drew, if it was a success or not?
So Mountains of Music was the Crooked Roads event, and we had very little to do with that. we had some ancillary events that we put on. It was at the same time as our craft brew festival, and we had, I think, 700 to 800 people that came to the craft brew festival, even though it rained like the dickens. But I don't know how that festival went. I'm not on the board, so.
Right, I didn't know if you saw any spike in anything in town.
We had our craft brew festival and people came to that. And I don't know, we didn't ask them if they were coming because they saw it on the Mountains of Music website, but my guess is they came because they were coming to our craft brew festival. Yeah.
Who put the busker one on?
So the town and the Main Street partnered on Busker Fest. My department gets a little bit of money each year to put on music events, and so we try to partner with Main Street because ideally we want to do events on Main Street to get more people feet on the streets, and so that's why we do Thursday jams with them, and Busker Fest was a new event that we planned with them and pulled off this year.
How was that attended?
We feel like it was very successful. It's really hard to keep track on a linear downtown street, but we've heard 3,000 people, maybe. Yeah. So we're definitely doing it again next year. We're going to expand it, more buskers, if you will. So it was a good event.
How do you all keep from piling on top of each other? I mean, at too many events on the same evening.
It's the hardest thing to do. We try to look at it. There's no like one overall regional events calendar, so you have to spend some time looking at different calendars to determine who's doing what and when, and we try not to compete with those. So we're
Are a lot of people using 360?
I think that's a tool that people still use for looking
Because
at
I notice
events.
it's pretty inclusive, and it looks like you can put events on it.
Right.
You have a person who oversees that if there's questions about.
That's not our website. That's a private individual's website.
Oh, I thought it was sponsored by the town.
No. We don't have anything to do with that. It's a private business owner's website. We have a events feed on our website. What we do is we partner with the Virginia Tourism Corporation and run what's called an iframe, a data feed on our website. So we encourage our partners, and we post information to virginia.org in their events, calendar of events, and then it feeds into our website. So anybody that had an event that they put on virginia.org and clicked Abingdon, Virginia, or Washington County would feed into our website as an event.
Okay.
It just makes it easier instead of posting things 2, 3, 4 times.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a free service from Virginia Tourism.
Does that go into whistle pigmenting?
The whistle pay, the whistle.
The wolf whistle.
The wolf whistle.
Sorry, thank you.
So the wolf whistle is an internal electronic newsletter that we send out. When people send us their events in a PDF, we put that into, or JPEG's probably better, into just an email blast that goes out to a pretty large database of restaurants, hoteliers, citizens. It's kind of our internal marketing piece for the town. We have an electronic newsletter that we use to a database of visitors that's completely different. And that newsletter redirects them back to our website. But the wolf whistle is an internal marketing piece that we use for Abingdon.
How much lead time is required to get something posted through Wolf Whistle or the electronic newsletter?
The newsletter we publish monthly for the most part, so several weeks in advance, and it's not a lot of information. It's kind of a teaser to get them back to the website. The Wolf Whistle, we're in transition now. It's been published by Tanya Triplett, who's no longer on my staff, and so she's still doing it until we figure out how we're going to make an adjustment on that. So send us stuff and it'll hopefully get out. Anything else? I hope that was good. Yeah, all right.
Thanks, Kevin, appreciate it. Just a little quick next week is on designing an effective ad. Kevin will be involved in that as well as
David McCullough?
McCullough.
Yeah, he's
from
gonna do
McCullough
it.
Harris. So that's
the
a
expert.
challenge for any businesses, know how to get that ad that gets looked at by us. So hopefully you'll be back here next week, so have a good day.
Yeah, Dave is the owner of McCullough Harris, which is an advertising firm that we work with. He's really astute. It's going to be a good program on how to design a really good ad. So if you could come next week, he's a much better speaker than I am, and he's an expert. So.
And listen, please share with your folks, your colleagues, about these sessions. We've got a lot of great things coming up in the next few weeks and throughout May of next year. So you can't beat the price.
Absolutely.
Have a good day.
Thank you.